If you are familiar with Power BI or if you're an expert in Power BI or familiar with Power View and Power Pivot and all that stuff, this session is actually a little bit more on the lightweight side and a little bit more entertaining and educational at the same time. So feel free to join just for the probably educational or some more entertainment value out of it. But yeah, this is meant to be a little bit of introduction sort of session. All right, so a little bit about me. I won't go through too much since we are actually already 5 minutes into the session. Okay, so what I'm trying to get out of today is I'm trying to relate this to the Mythbusters show. I'm hoping that you do like the show and you can relate to some of it. This is kind of it's sort of inspired by that show. So in Mythbusters, you don't try this at home because it's not safe and all that stuff, but in this session I'm actually trying to encourage you to try this at home. So if you haven't signed up for Power BI or Office 365 with Power BI, please do try it, because you will only learn and discover whether it's suitable for you or your organization or your team by just trying this at your leisure. And as you know, just like Mythbuster, failure is an option. So at some point in time in this session, there might be some issue or hiccups with Power BI because some part of it is actually cloud-based, and you never know what's going to happen with cloud-based sometimes. But so far it's been fairly reasonable. But I'm just sort of giving you a bit of a heads up out there, and I'm hoping that you can sort of come up with holy crap, that's cool, what I'm trying to show you here, because if you do find that that's cool, I would be really, really happy. And because I am going to go through a couple of myths, you might not believe with the conclusions that I've drawn. That's okay, but the idea is, you get to understand how we can make Power BI interesting and how similar it is in terms of myth busting to what we do as data professionals. And what could go wrong? You never know what's going to happen with some of the cloud-based solutions. So give it a go. And the three things that hopefully we'll be able to do here is to to say whether the myths are busted, confirmed, and possible. And at the same time, hopefully this will give you a bit of introduction whether you'll be able to start thinking whether Power BI is something that might be possible, or even confirm that it will work for your organization or for your team members. I give you a bit of a warning. Accidental learning of some myths around driving may be unavoidable, especially some of the ones that we do have in Australia, some of the myths that we have in Australia here. Anyway, so let's get started with myth busting and data professionals. So in summary, I would say that these are some of the steps around myth busting. So you gather the data, set the initial myth that you want to prove. You would probably construct objects to test myths, and construct your lab or workshop to test your myths. You want to plan for repeatable tests, and hopefully they're mostly mechanical so that you can just automate some of these tests. And then perform the test and then record the results. It's quite important to record the results because you want to be able to compare sometimes with baselines and all that stuff. And if you can't prove the myths, you might want to expand the circumstances a little bit to to see what would happen, or what would it take to make things happen or to make the myths happen. And of course, these things are scientific and fun anyway, so you want to share with others, and you want to be able to draw a conclusion. So these are, I think, kind of the rough steps in terms of myth busting. And for us as data professionals, you usually come up with this, wanting to find out what the business performance was like, and then come up with speculations and just pretty much things that you want to prove for the business. And in order to do that, most of the time you either search for new data, start collecting, some of the data that would be related to the speculations, for example, or use the existing data. So if you have data warehouse and things like that, that's going to be really, really useful for this exercise. And then once you know where to get the data from, you can create the data model. So essentially, with this one data model, you'll be able to perform a few tests or perform a few queries that would help you to validate the speculations or the questions that business have. And you want to be able to analyze the findings, as well as exploring, what else is out there that you didn't know. You want to learn something new. So not just proving something, but you also want to learn something new. And then you want to be able to share this information with others, like the stakeholders, business people, and then you want to be able to draw conclusion. And one thing that I want to say here is sometimes it is scary to deal with a lot of data if you don't know the context of the data. So so that's, I think, the most important thing. No matter how much how cool the tool that you're using, but if you're not being able to put the summary or the conclusion into a good context, it could be very misleading. Anyway, so we have 3 myths on driving that we want to do today, or that we want to bust or confirm or make possible today. And we have probably about 45 minutes each. I'm trying to get through it as much as possible, as quickly as possible, because there are other things that I want to show you besides just myth busting. And we have one workshop or one lab that we'll use to do the myth busting, which is Power BI and Office 365. For those of you who are not familiar with Power BI, it is a feature of Office 365. So when you have Office 365 subscription, you can have this add-on feature, which is Power BI, and pay a little bit extra to get all the capabilities of Power BI. So there are essentially two components of Power BI. One is with the on-prem sort of version, which is like Power View, Power Pivot, and Power Map, where you can use on your desktop. You don't have to share it with anyone. So if you're happy with that, then that's fine. You can use Excel 2013. But if you use Power BI, you are able to get more out of it by using the Power BI side to share the reports, to favorite reports, and then do more analytical stuff as well, which I will show you today. And then you'll be able to configure or share data sources or queries that you have within your team. So so Power BI is not just for analysis of data, but it's also for sharing, for collaboration, and for something a little bit more interesting that I'll show you today, hopefully. So myth number 1. So in Australia, we have this saying of Sunday drivers. So Sunday drivers, to us, it's like kind of scary drivers in a way, because they're Sunday being a lazy day and they're not paying attention, so it's usually not safe to drive around Sunday drivers.